Ahoy there! This is Chief Bones, and I'd like to welcome you to Ships in Brief. Today we'll be talking about the Kriegsmarine ship, the Prinz Eugen. The Prinz Eugen was the third of 5 Admiral Hipper-class heavy cruisers, also known as treaty cruisers. They were called treaty cruisers because they were ships that were allowed legally for the Germans to build after the signing of the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, which repudiated the disarmament clauses of the Treaty of Versailles. The Admiral Hipper class, while ostensibly met the 10,000 long ton limit, actually displaced considerably more. While the Admiral Hipper class was ordered in 1935, the Prinz Eugen was not launched until 1938. She would then take another 2 years to be commissioned in 1940 after the outbreak of the war. Her commissioning was briefly delayed in 1940 after an attack by the Royal Air Force caused superficial damage to the superstructure and the deck. She was swiftly repaired and ordered to join the fleet. Though not the first ship to carry the name, the KMS Prinz Eugen was named after Prince Eugen of Savoy, an 18th century Austrian general. Originally, the ship was to be named after Wilhelm von Tegethoff, another Austrian, but those plans were changed due to political reasons. In early 1941, the Prinz Eugen was selected to deploy with the battleship Bismarck in a series of sorties known as the Rhine exercises. However, immediately prior to deploying, the Prinz Eugen struck a sea mine and had to turn in for repairs. The German Admiralty then made the mistake of immediately deploying the Prinz Eugen and the Bismarck rather than waiting for the completion of the battleship Tirpitz or the repair of the battleship Scharnhorst. This would prove to be a mistake, as the British knew that the Bismarck and the Prinz Eugen were coming, and they shadowed them and met them in the Battle of the Denmark Strait, in which the Eugen and Bismarck sunk the battleship Hood. The Eugen had to escape, and the Bismarck was ultimately sunk by the task force. The Eugen never managed to make it through the English Channel into the Atlantic and never was able to commence raiding operations. She spent the remainder of her time, until 1943, as a cadet training ship before she was reassigned to combat duty against the Soviets. She spent the majority of that time as a shore bombardment vessel, supporting the Wehrmacht. At the conclusion of the war, the Eugen was given to the United States, where she was commissioned as the USS Prinz Eugen. She was taken to Boston, and her massive sonar array was removed and installed upon the USS Flying Fish, a submarine. Her guns were also removed, as were her fire control system. As her boilers had failed, she was taken to the Bikini Atoll to be used as a target test ship, where she survived both an air and submerged nuclear blast. Though she survived the blasting, she did sustain some damage, including a leak which they could not repair due to radiation. The Eugen was then towed to the Kwajalein Atoll in the Central Pacific, where eventually she capsized and sank. The Eugen's stern is still visible above water today. Alright, so let's take a look at how the KMS Prinz Eugen appears in-game. As usual, all stats are taken directly from the World of Warships wiki. At tier 8, the Prinz Eugen is probably my favorite heavy cruiser. She's a solid premium cruiser which can serve in both fire support and cap zone brawling roles. While released largely the same as her tech tree counterpart, the KMS Admiral Hipper, Eugen and Hipper diverged in a recent update to have similar but differing playstyles and perks. Hipper gained greater reload speed and rudder shift, while Eugen kept the old stats and gained a solid repair party consumable. Her other consumables include damage control, catapult fighter, and a choice between either hydroacoustic search or defensive AA fire. The Eugen has 4x2 203mm main cannons, 6x2 105mm secondaries, 4x3 533mm torpedo launchers, 2 on each side. Her AA suite is solid with decent range and damage. Her main battery has a base reload speed of 13 seconds, range of 17.5 kilometers, a turret rotation speed of 8 degrees per second, and can fire both AP and HE shells with a medium flight speed and moderately flat trajectory. Her HE has a solid fire chance and is equally dependable against all target types. Her secondary battery has a base firing range of 5 kilometers and a base reload of just under 3.5 seconds. Her torpedo firing angles on either side are quite forgiving, and the torpedoes themselves solid for ambush or defense, with a range of 6 kilometers, speed of 64 knots, and base damage of 13,700 per fish. She has 45,000 base hit points. Her top speed is 32 knots and has a solid base rudder shift of 10.9 seconds. Her base concealment of just under 15 kilometers is a little underwhelming for a cruiser at Tier 8. As a German premium heavy cruiser, she performs well as a captain trainer, and I use the same captain on Eugen as I do on Hindenburg at Tier 10. Most skills which work well on Eugen translate well to other German cruisers of various tiers. The following captain skills are recommended for play in the Eugen or Hipper: Priority Target, Adrenaline Rush, Demo Expert or Superintendent, Concealment Expert, or Advanced Firing Training. Also useful are Basic Firing Training, Expert Marksman, Expert Loader, Jack of all trades, High Alert, and Vigilance. Recommended module upgrades include Main Armaments Mod 1 in Slot 1, DC System Mod 1 in Slot 2, Aiming Systems Mod 1 or Anti-Air Guns Modification 2 in Slot 3, Steering Gears Mod 2 in Slot 4, and Concealment Systems Mod 1 in Slot 5. Eugen and Hipper both also have the built-in IFHE that you find in German cruisers, plus good enough bow armor to bow tank 15-inch battleship shells. So now we get on to the gameplay demonstration portion. We've got two clips here, and neither one of them are particularly impressive, but that's primarily because I was the one playing them, and I am a potato. Primarily what I want to show you here is the torpedo angles, first of all. They're very, very solid. You don't have to throw a whole lot of side up if you want to throw torpedoes at somebody, but I also want to show you the survivability of the Prinz Eugen, or the Hipper, as the case may be. Eugen and the Hipper are more or less the same ship with a few differences, as I mentioned previously. The Eugen here is taking quite a beating from a couple of ships' secondaries. I believe that's a Bismarck. It's hard to tell from this size during the edit of this video, but you're taking quite a bit of a beating from the secondaries and the primaries of both the Bismarck there and his supporting ships. And the Bismarck secondaries aren't exactly something to laugh at. They're basically destroyer and cruiser sized guns, and it's bouncing a lot, and it's taking fire, and it's losing modules. And at this point, I had no power, right? No engine, so I was stuck there. But still, just kept taking that beating, kept taking that beating, kept taking that beating, and kept shooting back. So that is one of the strengths of the Prinz Eugen. One of the downfalls is, of course, under sustained fire, you can lose a lot of modules, and very, very important modules at that. So, if anything, that should show you that it's best to save that damage control party consumable until it's absolutely necessary. Much like on a battleship, you don't want to use it with just one fire. I went and I cut it too early. But while the last clip showed you how much survivability it has under sustained fire, this clip is quite the opposite. This clip right here is going to show you, hey, bounces, look at that. This clip is going to show you how easy it is to actually not feel like you are as powerful as you actually are in just the snap of a finger. You know, you get Thanos right off the map if you're not careful. And so that's what this particular clip is about. But I also want you to see the firing angles and the trajectory of the main cannons of the Eugen. She is a fun ship to play. I love her, and I think you should too.